Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to another edition here of the Patriots Touchback Podcast. It is Season 2, Episode 28. It's another debilitating loss coming off a bye week, ending 30-17 to the Arizona Cardinals. An absolute terrible display from this team, and some even terrible press conferencing at the end, which we are going to get diving into. We've got Nick, we've got JD with us tonight. Make sure you smash the like button, Gronk spike the subscribe button, tell all your friends, follow us on all our social media platforms, follow the podcast on Spotify and on the Sports Social Network as well. And we are 12 subs away from 50. So remember, let's get us to 50 subscribers before the end of the season. And please make sure you smash the like button as well. Gentlemen, good evening. We enjoyed our bye week, and now we're back to same shit, different week. How are we doing anyway?
I'm not too bad, thanks, mate. Not too bad at all.
I'm just writing the whole weekend off, let's be fair.
Just embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Let's crack straight into it, shall we? So, 30-17. The loss we were expecting. We were all expecting losses on the board with this one. But what we have ended up getting is just a lack of attention to detail, a lack of planning, a lack of creativity. We had the bye week. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this game in particular. And it just seems like we didn't do anything in the week leading up to this game in order to combat what our problem was. Was it our penalties, our holding, our route running, play calling? It just seems like nothing was working. Nothing was working. Nothing was happening. And it's just frustrating. Absolutely and utterly frustrating. We're going to get into the Gerard Mayo's words at the end of the game, because that's going to be the hot talking point in this, okay? But let's try and dissect this game, as much as we can without losing our heads. Nick, another bad loss. What did you make of it, of the game, of what you saw? What I could only see good talking points from, say, Drake Maye and Christian Gonzalez, and maybe a little bit of Antonio Gibson. But apart from that, I am struggling like hell to find any sort of shining beacon of light on this team.
Yeah, I think it says a lot when you say without losing your heads, because I mean, I don't know where you go. It says a lot about the game when, to me, our best players are a cornerback and 2 running backs. The only 3 players that come out with any credit for me are Gonzalez, Gibson, and Stevenson. Now, May didn't do anything wrong, so I'm not sort of downplaying him, but I'm not giving him a massive upside either, because he wasn't given the chance to do anything. He failed to throw it until he threw that pass to Butte. He failed to throw over 10 yards in the air. That was what, 3 quarters. Mm-hmm. And it was like, get the ball and get it out quickly, as if they were scared of the blitz. Well, the blitz didn't come every single play. And I don't know whether that's Mayo telling Pelt to tell May that that's what they're going to do, or that's the game plan, or what. But no sooner did he in the fourth quarter, when he started throwing it, he went 7 for 7 when he was throwing over 10 yards. So did we leave the brakes on for too long? Were we trying? But that then gets into, I'm not surprised if I look on the flip side of the coin. I'm not surprised he's getting the ball out quickly, because when your left side of your protection is Lower Robinson, I nearly dropped an F-bomb there. When Lowe and Robinson are your protection on the left side, I'm not surprised you're getting the ball out quickly. Yet again, Robinson, another penalty that cost us yards, that brought it a good yard gain back because he picked up a holding call or whatever it was. And it's just same, and Strange is now. Why is Strange not at left guard then if he's fit? And there's talk about putting him at centre to cover for Brown. Well, I'm sorry. Robinson's a bigger problem than Brown at the moment. Get Strange in at left guard. But again, 0 for 6 on third down. You can't convert your third downs, you're in trouble. Two attempts at 1 yard. We only had 1 yard to gain. 2 attempts failed on both occasions. I mean, go on, JD, you carry on because...
No, I agree with you. I think picking up the third down stuff, I think that I was pretty frustrated late in the game when we had the second half and we had that 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 on back-to-back plays. And I was just a little bit disappointed that we couldn't come up with something a bit more creative than just running up the gut, like just halfback dive for 2 straight plays. There's no creativity there. There's no... using the threat of Drake Maye's legs, which we had used earlier in the game. It looked like there were several kind of RPOs or gap read, zone read kind of plays that they were using, but Maye just never got the opportunity to keep the ball. So I was a little bit disappointed, especially when you watch, Red Zone and you're watching around the league and you see the number of teams using really creative play designs. And we didn't. And Drake Maye kind of addressed that in his press conference, which I thought was ridiculous, really, that saying that we should be able to pick up a yard on 2 plays. That's the kind of team we want to be. And it really frustrated me a little bit because I think a lot of his press conference was getting a bit overblown, but that bit really annoyed me because it was like, but you're not that team. That might be the kind of team you want to be, but you're not that. You have an inferior offensive line. That's the biggest weakness on your team right now. Just running it up the gut is not going to work because you've not got the horses for it. And I get the Layden Robinson experiment. I get that he's a 4th round rookie. We want to try him out and see if we can see what we've got in him. But it's not working. It's not working. It's terrible. And you mentioned the left side of the offensive line, Nick. If you look at the PFF grades, I was looking at them today. For the left side of the offensive line, a blocking grade from the left side of the offensive, Vidarian Lowe, 35.9. Layden Robinson, 52.3. Ben Brown, 45.4. Ben Brown's pass blocking grade was 0.
We might as well have put you at centre.
0.0. There is, it can't get worse. Layden,
I think
that's how bad Vidarian Lowe was. He was 37.9. That's how
I think
bad
our
Vidarian
2 tackles are rated at 71 and 80 across the league. When you think about when you think about tackles, obviously 1 on each side. What, 4 a team maybe?
Yeah.
4 a team of which maybe 2, 3 are going to see action. Well, when your first teamers are rated at 71 and 80, that is not good. I bet there's some third stringers rated higher than our starters.
Yeah, I just think there's just too many. I was so frustrated with that first 2.5 quarters that you mentioned, Carl, where it just felt like we were so scared of Drake Maye getting hurt that it was just. Do you see Drake Maye's average depth of target in the first half was minus 0.6?
Yeah.
His average depth of target per pass was behind the line of scrimmage. And I know that's going to be affected by some of the screens and things that we ran, but that just, I can't understand why, based on what they'd seen from the Arizona defense, which to me was, it's largely cover 3, but from a 2 high shell, they mix things up quite a lot. And Drake, they're similar to the Rams, similar to what we saw with the Titans, is that ilk of D. And we just had an entirely different game. It felt to me like a team that just offensively, especially, both sides of the ball, and offensive, defense angered me more, but offensively, it just felt like we just didn't have a game plan. Like we didn't know what to expect. And when Arizona didn't do what we expected, it was panic. And it was like, oh God, what do we do? And that to me was so frustrating because it was clear there was an evident game plan to be like, Drake, get this ball out quickly. And he did that. But that works if you've got the weapons, and we don't. Like, those guys are not getting open. They're not open.
You need the weapons, and you need the O-line to protect and give May time in the pocket to go through the actual read and the progression so that said receiver can get open.
Absolutely. But even if you want to overcome an offensive line, you run the ball. And we did run the ball quite well, to be fair. Antonio Gibson is on a tear right now. He was phenomenal. He broke 11 tackles at the weekend, which is amazing compared to Ramondre Stevenson's one. But if you want to beat a poor offensive line, or overcome a poor offensive line, you run the ball well and you throw quick hitters. But in order to throw the quick hitters, you have to have receivers that can get open quickly. Because Arizona just blitzed and played man. That was it. That was their whole game plan. And they just said to us, go beat us. Go have receivers that will beat us. And we didn't. And they blitzed to block up the escape lanes for Drake. And that was a game plan that just neutered us completely.
It's just terrible the way the game just acted out. What I don't understand is when we were, I can't remember when it was in the game, but we were at the Cardinals 4-yard line, 3-1. You run a run and play, I formation, don't get absolutely nothing. On 4th down, you need to convert this in order to keep the Cardinals at bay. They run the same play again. You've got a 6'4", 225-pound quarterback in the name of Drake Maye, who has, on a number of occasions when he was at UNC, QB sneaked. He has done it. He knows how to do it. If they're scared about him getting injured now, I'm more scared of him getting injured in open play than I am in a QB sneak. It just didn't make any sense. And I just don't know, because we didn't know what the situation was. We didn't know if that was Van Pelt that was running it or that was Gerard Mayo calling an audible. I generally don't know, okay? But what I will say is this, okay? So the post-game comments, okay? So obviously Gerard Mayo's response was as tone deaf as it gets, okay? So the question was, did you consider running Drake Maye? It's a short yardage situation and he can run. Mayo responded back by saying, you said it, I didn't. This is not the first time he's made a bleep of himself at the podium this season, okay? The reporter responded back with the question of, in response to that question and the answer, you said I didn't, does that mean it was Alex Van Pelt's decision not to run Drake in that situation? Mayo said, it's always my decision. The quarterback obviously has a good pair of legs and does a good job running the ball. We just chose not to do it there. So you're telling me you're not going to run a QB sneak on 4th and 1 at Arizona's 4-yard line, knowing for a fact you get the first down. It's 1st and goal at the 3. That makes no sense to me.
I mean, even if it is Pelt's decision, ultimately Pelt does what Mayo tells him. So it's not necessarily that Mayo has to call an audible anyway. If they've gone through the game plan and Mayo has said effectively, we are going to do this, then what Pelt wants to do is irrelevant.
What's Gerard Mayo's background?
Defense.
Right, okay then. So why the hell is he trying to call offensive play calling when he knows...
I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that I don't want to throw everything on Van Pelt and say it's his fault, without knowing the facts. Because what Mayo has said doesn't help. All it does is muddy the water, which I think is the whole point. He's trying, in a press conference like that, he's trying to muddy the water so that people can't see what's going on. Which is, to be fair, is page 1 of the Bill Belichick handbook. Don't say anything. Onto Cincinnati. If you don't want to tell the press anything, you don't tell them anything. So I think it's Mayo's sort of version of onto Cincinnati. He's just literally like...
But he's not the first time he's put his foot in his mouth.
True.
Not the first time. Because there's a list here of everything. Where is my screenshot here? I've got on here. Where is it? Here we go. So watching his words, okay? So back in January, overusing the nickname Thunder for Robert Kraft during introductory press conference. In April, says Patriots will burn cash, then walks back the comments, calling them a rookie mistake. In August, says best player will play. Also says May outplayed Brissett, but didn't start May in week 1. Week 7, calls Patriots a soft football team after loss to Jaguars, which it was wildly criticised, including Bill Belichick. That's the one thing we will all agree upon. We watched that shit show live and in person that day.
I don't have a problem in him calling the team soft then, because they were terrible. They deserved an ass whooping. I get that some coaches wouldn't say that and whatever else, but who was it? If you, I mean, I don't
think it
know
depends
whether.
for me.
Go on.
Go on, JD.
I was going to say it depends for me. I think with the team, if he said that to the team, and then he's come out and said it in the media, I'm fine with that. If he's just come out and said it in the media, I don't think that's okay. I think that's how you start to lose a locker room.
I think
if you said it to the team and then said it to the media, I agree with you.
If you say it to the players and then to the media, it can't be that. They won't really take much real notice of it. But the one thing you do not do is you don't call out your coaching staff and then announce it to the media, because then you're then giving them a lethal weapon for them to use. Because that's primarily, is basically, in a nutshell, he's throwing Van Pelt under the bus because of that. Instead of taking responsibility and goes, if he just basically turned and said, we all did a poor job.
I think what we're maybe seeing is
go on.
I think he's a rookie head coach, and he's learning, I think, what he should and shouldn't say. I think that's what he's got so far. I think he's putting his foot in his mouth, and it seems like he's perhaps when he's frustrated after a very disappointing loss, he sometimes says things that he probably shouldn't say, and he's learning, I would think. But that was what we signed up for with the first year, a rookie head coach who has never been a head coach at any level. I think that's what we've got to look forward to. He's learning on the job, and maybe he's not learning as quickly as we'd like, but that might be the case.
And the other one was obviously going back on, where was it? Basically saying that once those guys cross the white line, there's nothing we can do about it, and that crap. I didn't really agree with that. Nothing I could do. That was in the 34-15 loss to Miami. And then the one that's just gone past now, you said I didn't when asked why Patriots didn't use May as a runner. This is not the first time that Drake Maye has made an idiot of himself at the podium. And I know he's trying to say in different ways, but we all have got kids. And what did our mothers always used to say? If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it. If you ain't got nothing good to say, then don't say it. Just say, poor game. We were awful all across the board. We're gonna fix it up and get ready for Buffalo this coming week. That was all you had to say. Shut the media up, and then you have to let DWEI and Boston Sports Radio try and conjure up some bullshit that because you can't give them the answers to. That was the one good thing I loved about Belichick. He never gave them any answers. He made them do guesswork. He made the likes of Mike Reese and Mike Giardi and freaking the other bloke, I can't remember his name is now, Evan Lazar. He made them all do guesswork.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But
I think he's learning. I think he's learning what he can and can't say, and I think it's going to be.
It's just frustrating, deeply and utterly frustrating, and I just don't know where to go from here, because I'm always on the mind of, okay, we should be able to, if you're trying to build a culture and identity, at least show it in your first season. Can anybody on this panel actually tell me what our identity is, what sort of culture we're implementing, and what style of play are we implementing with this? Because here we are at the end of week 15, and I ain't got a bloody clue.
I think if you just put a picture of that colander back up, that's what we are. We're just a team full of holes. You know, we have so many gaps on both sides of the ball, from poor drafting and poor coaching, that, you know, there is a lot of years of pain to be had. You know, when you don't have the right staff and you don't have the right players. You know.
So JD. Anyway,
I agree. I think it's years of bad drafting. There's no core to the team. There's no, if you look at the blue chip players that we've got, it's Gonzo, it's Drake, it's Barmore, and that's it. I think one of the big issues for me is the number of players we've re-signed this offseason with big contracts that have not performed. You look at Mike Onwenu, Kyle Duggar, Ramondre Stevenson. Obviously Bentley and those guys have been injured. Barmore's not been able to play because of his health issues. Peppers has had his off-field issues. The number of players we've re-signed and brought back who just haven't lived up to their end of the bargain, I think is really, really disappointing. But I think we've talked a lot about offense so far, but I think for me the defense were even worse. I'm becoming more and more concerned about the defense than I am the offense, because I just think the regression on D, to go from, 7th in DVOA last year, adjusted for the strength of schedule that we had because we played a lot of backup QBs, to 30th this year. I wrote an article for Huddle UK this last week about, and during the bye week, about my concerns about the coaching staff, and that I think Mayo and Van Pelt should be retained, but I am not confident in keeping Covington around because I just don't think he is demonstrating he is a capable defensive coordinator right now.
Here's the thing, though, because when you're a first-year head coach, okay, your performances on the field, I think you have to take stock of what you've done that year, and you think, okay, you're still learning, John. Maybe you should have another season to get back to to get better at it. But you can talk yourself out of a job. And I might be sorry if I sound like a broken record, but the amount of times he's been at the podium and he's said some absolute ludicrous things, and it's just completely short-sighted. I keep going back to the mainstream media. If the media, you say one sentence that's a little bit off the cuff and a little bit, not sure if you should have said that, the media are going to kill you for it. And I think every time he's been at the podium, he's said some good things, but he's also, especially in losses, it's just the objectives I've just pointed out for you. That's got to come into the mind. And what I'll say is this, okay? Now, take this with a pinch of salt all you want, okay? So there's a report in The Athletic by Diana Rossini. This is what she put regarding Gerard Mayo's future. While there hasn't been any public vote of confidence for the head coach from the Kraft family, Patriots leadership is standing by Mayo. Just as discussions about the next NFL hiring cycle heat up, team owner Robert Kraft has privately assured those close to him that he's committed to giving his first-year head coach the time and resources he needs to grow into the role. Bearing this in mind, the critical word in that sentence is privately. I
would have said the critical line there is grow. He needs to grow. He needs to do some growing quickly. He needs to realize what he can say, what he can't say, what he needs to be doing better, and what he needs to be doing right now. And I think he needs to realize that himself quickly.
He needs an older head in that dressing room. He needs an older head on it. He needs a few mature, experienced older heads in that coaching staff for next year. He really does.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for me, I'd be looking at Robert Saleh as the new DC next year. But just talking about spinning things a different way, whether it's the media or whatever, I realise that the Patriots website is pro-Patriots and everything else, and we know that. Right. So on the Patriots, when they're summing up this game, we're here and we're not picking anything positive out of this game. What I love from the website, because they have the ability to find pieces of shit and sprinkle some shiny stuff on it. Their positives from this game are Hunter Henry sets new single career high in receptions. Hunter Henry extends his streak of 17 games with a reception. Marcus Jones has his first reception of the 2024 season. Ramondre Stevenson reaches 3,000 rushing yards, and Demario Douglas has second career touchdown reception. That is what they are leading with pro out of that game. And that says a lot about, sugarcoating, because I wouldn't put any of those down as worth celebrating. Not in a performance like that. They're things that and move on. You don't put them on the website and say, hey, look at this. Oh, I don't know.
Is your Wi-Fi back up now, mate? Yeah, I think I've been watching streams all night, and it just seems like the Wi-Fi is killing a lot of channels tonight. I don't know why, just having a rough day. What do you make of the media side of things, JD? Because it's just we take what the media say with a fine grain of salt, but
I don't know.
But unfortunately, when there's smoke, there's fire, and when the fan base are calling it out and seeing it with their own two eyes.
Yeah, I think I try not to take too much. Yeah, I try not to take too much from it, to be honest. I'm not too fussed what the media say. I like to watch on my train journey to and from work, just watch the All-22 footage and nerd out for myself. And kind of have that, the PFF grades and things like that to look at and for reference. But I think there's definitely a point that Drake Maye is not helping himself. I think he's, like I said earlier, I think he gets frustrated. He makes unnecessary comments. I think he's learning, and he needs to learn to perhaps say it a bit less. I don't necessarily have an issue with, early on with him calling Robert Kraft whatever nickname and all that kind of stuff. I don't care about that. None of those things would be issues if we were winning football games. So I'm not bothered about making them issues when we're not. I think for me, the fact we're losing games, this was expected. When we went through the schedule thing at the beginning of the year, I think I had them down as 4 wins. So this was the kind of season I expected. I don't think it's necessarily gone the way I expected in terms of the performances. I think there's been a lot of inconsistencies. And the problem I have is I think we have to stick with Drake Maye. I think we have to keep him. I don't want to be, for me, bad teams have coaches that go one and done. We've hired a certain type of coach. And typically when you hire a head coach, you go for either the schematic boy wonder, your Mike McDaniels, your Sean McVay, those kind of guys, or you go for your culture builder, your Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin, those kind of guys, John Harbaugh, right? You hire one of them. And that's what Drake Maye is. He's not a schematic advantage in any way. And what we need to see from him is he needs time to build his culture and to take that CEO type of role and surround himself with good players and good talent and good coaches and things like that. So I think he needs time to be able to do that. I think it's also coalescing with a roster that, well, I saw a tweet the other day that perfectly summed up Bill Belichick for me. It was Mac Jones throwing a horrific pick for the Jags. And it said, the reason Bill Belichick is the greatest head coach of all time is because he took a Mac Jones-led team to the playoffs. The reason he's one of the worst GMs we've ever seen is because he drafted Mac Jones at number 15. Right? And I think that sums up Belichick. A phenomenal head coach. And you can see the defense just decline. You can see the mistakes. You can see everything that's a product that a lot of the things we're seeing now are alien to us because we never saw this during the Belichick era. We never saw a team kill itself to this degree. And I think the coach Belichick we miss infinitely. But general manager Bill Belichick has us in this hole. He has not had a solid. I mean, Gonzo was his only decent first round pick probably of the last 8 years, and so that lack of blue chip talent is just not. There's just a huge dearth of talent on the team at the top level, and that means that there's so much work to do. And if we hire a head coach like Drake Maye, which we did at the time, I would have rather had one of the nerdy guys that can come and bring a scheme that can give us an advantage. Because right now it doesn't feel like we ever have a coaching advantage in the matchup. But I think if we are going to make the decision to go with Drake Maye, which we did, we have to see it through and we have to see what he can build. And he's not going to build it in 14 games. That's not going to happen with a roster that's not his. He has to, him and Elliot Wolf, and I absolutely agree that, I know Kieran especially likes to slam Elliot Wolf. I'm a little bit more lenient on Elliot Wolf. I didn't think last year was a great offseason. I didn't think it was a time to spend money with a rookie head coach and a rookie QB. I think now we work out what the hell we've got on this team, which we probably all know now is not a lot.
A lot. We've got nothing.
This is the offseason we have to attack. And I think the most important person this offseason, I think the most important person this offseason is Robert Kraft. And I think he has to be willing to get his checkbook out. I think he has to pass the days of when we had Belichick and Brady and guys want to be here and they will take a championship discount to come and play in New England. That doesn't exist anymore. If you want T. Higgins, if you want the top free agents, Robert Kraft is going to have to spend money. And there's no excuse for us to not have. I'm not saying we should be in the playoffs next year. There's no excuse for us to be in games looking like we cannot compete because we have the most cap space by a mile. We have great draft capital. We have most of our guys are going to be retained. There's really only Austin Hooper that's not re-signed as the core starter. There's no excuse for us to not have a far, far superior team next year. And if we don't come out of this offseason with a viable roster that can compete and not just get decimated week after week, I really don't. I think that's when we need to start thinking about whether we need to have an overhaul. I don't think it needs to happen right now. I think this season was a fact-finding mission for me. It was, let's see what the hell we've got. And that's why, it's not working because you've got guys like Layden Robinson spending more time on the ground than he is upright. You've got Jalen Polk consistently running the wrong route. Kendrick Bourne keeps making mistakes. We have an insane ability in our receiving core to drop the ball upwards into a defender's hand. I don't know how we keep doing it, but it's a skill that's clearly
he literally shoveled it.
I just don't understand. It's happened twice in the last 2 games where somebody's dropped a low pass.
Oh, apparently Keishon Butte.
Henry and Bourne and Butte have done that the past 2 games. How do you drop the ball upwards?
Butte called Drake Maye out on that by basically saying the pass was too low.
Ridiculous.
Shut up. I've seen that replay and that was in the breadbasket. You just decided to go, so there's something to go. No, I won't deny that. No, that interception
I
was
think
not on
that
Drake Maye.
speaks to the talent level. Not at all. I completely agree. I don't.
Travis
I think it
Hunter,
speaks to the talent level on the team. Someone like Keishon Butte should not. You've got Keishon Butte playing 45 snaps. He is not a 45 snap X receiver. Drake Maye put that ball in a good spot. He led the receiver away from the safety. It was a sensible play to make. Absolutely not a turnover-worthy play whatsoever from him. But we're not putting players in positions we're putting players in positions to make plays that good players make, but we don't have the players there to make those plays. And that's the problem. If we can give Maye more talent around him, they'll make those plays. People like Travis Hunter, people like T. Higgins will make that catch. But someone like Butte will not make that catch consistently, and we're asking him to go and do it. And I think it's really disappointing and really hard because, like I said, this season for me is a fact-finding mission. Let's go and see what we've got. And the answer is, as you said earlier, Carl, is jack shit. We haven't got anything. And the players that we're trying to find out if they're anything are either injured or they're just not doing it.
Can you see an identity, a culture, and a style of play being implemented in this team? Have you seen anything? Have you seen any of those 3 that you say, yeah, we can implement with this? Because we've watched 15 weeks of football, or other 14 weeks of football because we've just come off the bye, and I don't see it. And me and Nick were talking in the green room before we went live, okay? And that was I gave a comparison. Dan Campbell is a prime comparison. His first press conference was all about biting kneecaps. The NFL world laughed in his face, thinking, "Oh God, this is going to be one of these embarrassing hires that Detroit always do." But throughout that season, even though they lost a lot of games, he could see what Detroit were trying to do. You could see what style they were implementing. You could see what identity they were trying to do. And you could see what kind of culture that Dan Campbell was trying to infuse in that franchise. Fast forward to now, he's now got them as one of the best teams in the NFL. Flip that to Gerard Mayo and the Patriots right now, and I don't see that. And I think they're your foundational pieces to actually work with, so then you can start building the roster. If you haven't got a culture set and an identity set, you got nothing. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think it's... No, I think you're right.
This is what I mean. If you stick with Gerard Mayo...
No,
you better hope he gets right, and you better hope he gets right in that second year. Because if you bugger up it again, it's another year of Drake Maye wasted, and it's another year of Christian Gonzalez wasted. We've got two brilliantly talented players on our roster here. We can't waste it.
True. I think you look at the coaches in the NFL today, and you have the Dan Campbells, the shout and scream loud, throw every ball, hit every tackle, and they're great coaches, especially if they know what they're doing. Brilliant, fantastic. You then get you've got the Sean Payton, the Sean Payton style, which is, I know everything I need to know. My mind is an encyclopedia. I know everything, and I've got a solution for every problem. You have the technical coaches, the Kyle Shanahans, for example, that, have a scheme here, scheme there. The Sean McVays that... do you remember when Sean McVay came on to see, and they literally had a guy that was just employed to pull him back off the line when the referee was, because he was so in the game, he was that passionate, and then you have the Mayo coach that just well done guys, well done, and I just think if you are going to be that type of coach, that's fine, it's not a problem. But you have to back it up. You have to have the knowledge. You have to have the, inside the locker room, you have to be shouting at them, hot poker and everything, And I just think Gerard Mayo is not doing something. I can't put my finger on what is not right, because he is a rookie and things will come with time. But you need those fundamentals, and I think he's, it's like a table. A table has four legs, for argument's sake. Unless it's a three-legged table. But chances are, if you are missing the table leg, it's going to be a bit wobbly somewhere. And I think those fundamentals of those four fundamentals that make the Gerard Mayo coach, one of them is not right. It's either too short, too long, missing a little bit, or it's just missing completely.
Missing the nuts and bolts completely.
Something not right. And it can't just be that he's a rookie. I'll take my table analogy now and go on.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it's flat packed so it's easy to take away. Anyway.
I think you're right.
That's probably the problem. It hasn't been built yet.
It's a flat pack. Yeah, it's a flat pack furniture from IKEA. For fuck's sake. Go on, JD.
Well, I think the interesting stuff you mentioned earlier about Dan Campbell. I think it's worth remembering that the Lions went 3-13 that first year, and after going 5-11 the year before, there was a lot of criticism. And like you mentioned about Dan Campbell, was kind of laughed at. He was laughed at when he was losing, and that's because he was doing all that stuff and losing. And each coach has got their own style, and we want to talk about Mayo being quiet and not doing much on the sidelines. Belichick was quite similar in that regard, but nobody said anything about the cranky old dude with the cut-off hoodie.
The reason being why no one spoke about it was I think he was winning. He was also
the thing for me was
he also had capital in the bank. He was a 2-time defensive coordinator for the Giants. He with for the 2-time Super Bowl for
he had 2 Super Bowls already.
So he had capital. No one called him out.
Drake Maye was a Pro Bowl player.
But it's very hard that players go on to be great coaches.
That guy was a middle linebacker in the NFL for however many years.
The only one I've seen as a coach who's gone on to do brilliantly, who used to play was Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he sucked. He sucked as a quarterback. He sucked as a player, but as a coach, he's one of the best minds in the game. It's very hard to see a player that's actually been.
Dan Campbell was a player.
Yeah, Dan Campbell. I'll give you that.
Evan O'Connell.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't necessarily think
you're kind of killing me.
You can give examples from all kinds of stuff. Mike Singletary was a phenomenal player. I think you can make examples of all different kinds. Mike Singletary was a phenomenal player. He was a bad head coach. Mike Ditka was a great player and a great head coach. Like Bill Belichick never played a down of football and is the best coach of all time. Like Tom Landry looked like he'd walked out of a corporate meeting and was a phenomenal head coach. Like I don't necessarily think there's too much of a correlation between those two things. I think if you can coach, you can coach. And I think ultimately, the type of coach that we've got, we need to give him time to build what he wants. I think the really important part of the 3-13 season that Dan Campbell had, 3-13-1 or whatever it was this first year, that they went 2-2 in the last 4 games. Now, we've got the hardest schedule in the NFL in our last 4 games, so it's unlikely we're going to go 2-2. I don't care if we go 0-4, but I don't think we can keep having performances like we had on Sunday. There needs to be, I know it's against the Bills. We're not going to beat the Bills. It was very unlikely we're going to beat the Chargers. I think we will go 0-3 the rest of the season. But if we can not get our doors blown off and look, I think this is why we need to take the stabilizers off Drake. Just let him go play and say, let these last 3 games, let's just play the best ball we've played all season and have some momentum going into the offseason to say, look, here's something we can build upon. Because not only will that inspire confidence in the team, it will build momentum for free agents. Like if we are a train wreck and we go 3-14 and we look dog shit, free agents are not going to want to come here. They're just not going to, because why would you? Drake Maye is an attractive commodity, but if the rest of the team's horseshit, who's going to be that first free agent that's going to sign for New England? Because you don't know who's the. If we get T. Higgins, if we get a few others, and all of a sudden it looks like we're building a better team, then maybe guys will come. But you're going to have to pay through the nose to bring T. Higgins here in the first place. So I think there's going to be those issues coming where we need to put something on tape in the last few weeks of the season that looks like, okay, this is a team that's building to something. And that's what the Detroit Lions did, even though they went 3-13-1 or whatever. And we need to do the same. We need to show, it doesn't have to win. It just has to be, this team's not a train wreck and people will want to come here. And I think that's a huge deal for the last part of the season.
It's very hard to do
that.
It's
a huge ask as well.
Yeah, because you got to face Justin Herbert and the Chargers defense that barely gives up 15 points a game, and then we get the lovely duty of Josh Allen raw dogging us twice in the next 3 weeks. Yay, awesome! So it's slim pickings now. I do agree. But I'm not saying. I've also heard reports apparently Drake Maye should be shut down. I've also heard reports that Drake Maye should be getting shut down for the final few weeks because you're playing the Chargers and the Bills twice. So I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that? Well, just to protect him? We're not going to bring anybody in.
I can see the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that argument based on the way they game planned for Sunday. If you are not going to let Drake Maye throw the ball down the field and you're going to say, okay, I want you to throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage every single play and get it out of your hands because we do not want you to get hurt or hit, then bench him because you're not achieving anything. We're not going to find out anything about anybody else on the roster if we are handcuffed by making sure Drake Maye doesn't get injured. If you're going to play like that, then just bench him and play Brissett. But if you are going to put Drake on the field, you have to let him play. Because look what I did in the final quarter and a half. In that, it was garbage time, and Arizona were playing just base defense, but he rips them apart, and he looked phenomenal. Let him do something. Don't just handcuff him to, third down draw plays and screens. Let him actually go make plays.
This coaching can't play scared in the next 3 games. They've got to start showing some grit. They've got to put their balls on the table now. You've got to try and do something. I do not want to see this passive, sad, inconceivable football anymore. I don't. Buffalo is not going to be an easy task. It's actually going to be an impossible task. But we've already been buggered already by the Cardinals. There's a good chance if we end up getting our backdoors blown out by Buffalo twice at the Chargers, what does that then say going into the offseason? Because that could potentially force Kraft's hand. I don't think he will. I just have a suspicion he will keep along and he will stay on his word, because he handpicked Mayo to take over Belichick, and he would look absolutely foolish if he was to fire Mayo. He'll cut off his nose to spite his face.
I would say the expectation is if we expect to lose at the weekend, which I don't expect us to do anything other. Hopefully the Raiders can beat the Jags and we go up a spot and we're drafting at 2 then.
Oh, was that who they played this week?
Yeah, the Raiders play the Jags this week.
Yeah.
So
but I think Max Crosby's out. Max Crosby's done now for the season. He's having surgery, so anyway.
I agree that Robert Kraft has got to stand by his guy. He won't get years and years and years and years. I think maybe, I think Mayo will get next year, and depending on if there's improvement from this year, at this time next year, he may get a 3rd year. But this is the thing. Elliot Wolf needs to draft. The team needs to draft it and improve, but you can't just draft and improve what Mayo wants, because he may not be here in a year to benefit from that. You kind of need to draft what the team needs, not necessarily what it's. You need to sort of mix what Mayo wants with what the team needs and try and find that blend of player that fits both camps. Because drafting for what the coach wants and then sacking the coach, you're back to square one, and you've got these drafts that nobody wants. So,
yeah, okay. Let's talk a little bit about on the Buffalo game. It's on Sunday. We know we're going to get we're probably going to get our spleens ripped out. Buffalo just putting points on anybody for fun now. In back-to-back games, they've put over 40 points on the Rams, and they've just put over 40 points on the Detroit Lions.
90 points over 2 games.
91 points over two games. And our defense can't stop a tumbleweed. Is this going to be one of those games where just can we avoid to not get killed by 40 points?
I'm not holding out much hope.
I just don't. Yeah.
Oh, and to make matters worse, the Bills put on their social media page, I don't know if you spotted it as well, but apparently they've got a new color coordinated uniform. Suspiciously like our throwbacks, our red throwbacks. They're just trolling us right now. If you go and check the Bills' social media page, you'll see what I mean. it's so like our red throwbacks. They're just doing this to piss us off now. But this is what they want. Go on.
Here's a question. Sorry, I'm just Googling something. The Washington Commanders, what was the Washington other word? Scored 72 points on the New York Giants in 1966. That is currently the highest points scored by one team. The Dolphins last year, playing Denver, won 70 points to 20. We're 2 points off it. There's a question. Will the Buffalo Bills beat the 72 points that is currently the NFL record? Will the Buffalo Bills score 73 points? The fact that we have to think about it says a lot.
That's worrying. that is so worrying. I as I said,
enjoy that, gents.
I'm hoping the fact that the Bills. I'm just hoping the fact that the Bills have a really good run game just bleeds enough clock that they can't score too many points because they're just having 6-yard runs all day and just knocking the clock over. That's my hope.
Well, we can't stop the run either, so they only need about 4 runs and they'll be at the other end anyway.
And Josh Allen takes off for fun anyway.
Yeah, not far off.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'll be honest. No. I'm really not looking forward to it. I would say this is a game where Buffalo are going to score north of. I would say they score north of 45.
I think they're going to put 50 burger on us.
Possibly.
I think they're going to put 50 burger on us, and I don't know. What I would like to see is lose by 2 scores. We lose by 2 scores to a Buffalo team. I'll be like, okay, all right, that's a bit respectable. A bit respectable. Get blown out by 4 scores, and they're like, yeah, this is what we come to expect.
Yeah.
Go, JD.
I was going to say that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, that I think just respectability, that's it for me. I'm not expecting a win. I'm not expecting anything close. I think just to look to like the Miami game where it just looked like this is an NFL offense versus a college team. That's what that game looked like. I think even for the first 2.5 quarters in the game, I think it was 23-3 at one point and against the Cardinals in the fourth quarter, wasn't it? It was that the scoreline flattered us, I think, in the Cardinals game. I'd like to see a game where we look, even if it's like the Titans or the Rams, where it's like we kind of look competitive and the game's never dead. That Arizona game felt gone at halftime to me. And so I'd like to maybe see us just be respectable in one of the Buffalo games. That doesn't feel like too much to ask, right?
This is the Patriots we're talking about here, so yes, it is. I
mean, that's another thing we haven't actually said. The Patriots against Arizona this weekend chose to start with the ball, and before we knew it, we were 2 scores behind.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the ball to start with.
Mm. So it does make. All right, let's.
Yeah. And that was another thing that you sort of reminded me of, Nick, there that really frustrated me, that really annoyed me was that first possession when we had the ball and we got into field goal range. We got that really nice Gibson run, and then we got called back for a hold on Layden Robinson. And it almost then just felt like, oh, cool, we're in long field goal range. Let's just throw a screen and run the ball and really bring it and just settle for a 53-yard field goal. In fact, I was watching the game with my wife and I said when we missed the field goal, I was getting really irate, and she was like, well, at least you might score 3 points. And I was like, no, that's not the point. We're 3-13. Why are we not trying to push the ball down the field and go for it? Who gives a shit? This game means nothing to us. We're out of the playoffs. Just go for it. And then he misses it. And I'm like, that's karma. That's football karma right there. We deserve to miss that 53-yard field goal because we just went, oh, let's just see what Joey Sly can do. No,
I told you Joey Sly's inconsistent. I said might need a new kicker in the draft this season. I said we might need a new kicker because Joey Sly's just too inconsistent. That's the reason being why. If he's there in fifth round, go and get Zavada out of Michigan. Please, for the love of God.
Would you like to know that the Patriots this weekend are 11-2 to win? 11-2.
I'm trying to find some money on the floor that I could actually use for. No, I'm that. Mate, I gave up gambling a long time ago. Even that does not entice me.
11-2. Who thinks that the Patriots have got enough of a chance to give them an 11-2?
Point spread? Because someone check the point spread. Has anyone checked the point spread?
The 45.5.
No,
that's 14.
That's the over-under.
The point spread's 14, did you say, JD? Let me just... I need to look at this. Where is it?
Yeah, it was 14 last time I looked.
Minus 14.5. Take the minus 14.5, please.
Yeah, 14.
Oh, God. That's actually quite low considering what the Bills can actually do. But anyway. Shall we do a score prediction?
Oh, God.
That's true. 48-9. I'll give us 3 field goals.
Sorry, what was it again?
48-9.
Okay. JD?
Oh, I don't think the Buffalo defense is that great. I was reading this week that we have not scored 30 points since October 2022.
We won't be
which is very
depressing.
But I believe it will be a shootout and we will crack 30 points because they'll say, Drake, just go. And Drake might throw 4 interceptions and he might throw 5 touchdowns. I don't know. But let's just see what happens. Give the kid a chance to just go and sling it. And let's put 30 on the board. But our defense will not stop them. So I'm going to go for... Go on.
I was going to say, I realise you've finished work now for Christmas, but are you on the source? Are you on the source already?
52, did you say 52-31?
I'm feeling no pain.
52-31.
52-31. I think it's going to be a massive shootout. I mean, I'll look at the weather in Buffalo.
I've got to check what I'm drinking. What the fuck? Okay, I'll just give you my time.
He's finished work already for Christmas. He's already sloshed.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna be honest.
What can I say? I'm teetotal, so I don't have an excuse.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna say it. 54-13. It's gonna be a nasty one. 54-13, Buffalo. It's just gonna be awful. But we can only hope that maybe we might be able to put up some sort of performance. But I wouldn't hold our breath. But we'll see. Okay, that's the end of our show, guys. Thanks to Nick. Thanks to JD. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. Make sure you smash the like button on your way out. You hit the like button. You gronk the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Remember, get us to 50 subscribers and we will do a giveaway of some new merch we've got coming very, very soon. So please get us to 50 subs. We will do that. We will be back next week, a different time on a different day, because obviously next week it's Christmas. Usually we do our show on Tuesday, and next Tuesday is Christmas Eve. So we're going to be back on a Monday at an earlier time at 7:30 p.m. UK time. So make sure to check us out for that, for the review of the Buffalo Bills game, and if you probably haven't seen the game, it will probably be uploaded to Pornhub anyway, because it's just going to be an absolute massacre. But that being said, we're out of here. Thanks to Nick. Thanks to JD. It is Christmas time, and a lot of people do give gifts. Well, we're going to be receiving one by Josh Allen going on a strike. Good night. God bless. Go Patriots.